I just roll my eyes if
He's
it's needed.
channeling, what's his name?
Ebert project.
But you know, just for a few minutes, we thought it would be cool to get people together and just talk about why it is we do what we do. And a lot of things, you know, artists, they're always wrestling with being commercial and also being artists in the intellectual sense. And for myself, when Lewis and I started doing this, I wanted to be an intellectual artist. So a lot of the things that we're doing sort of says something about our social, you know, what's happening in society, you know, what's going on in the streets, what you see visually on the billboards and the walls and the alleys of the city. And in this particular neighborhood, there's just a wealth of really great visual information for artists to be able to create. So there's these really different types of styles of shirts and pieces, and we thought we'd explain it a little bit because, well, we thought maybe it's interesting to you to know what it is that if you're interested in what you're wearing and what you can tell. And so she tells me I have a specific way in which I'm supposed to go.
Well, let's talk about the
Yeah, you start with the furniture. Essentially, this shirt here, you should wear this. Well, you know that when you go and you buy Calvin Klein, go and get you know the designs, the different types of styles that are names are recognizable, and in our personal quest to gain notoriety for the name Cocomocha, we said, well, what would be our name, brand, style, or what would cause people to kind of draw to what it is we're doing. So it just ended up turning into a design saying you should wear this, the same as the commercial, you know, the other designers do. And she's wearing a piece there. I'm getting blind by my own bike here. And the style is essentially, you know, very simple, but it's, you know, very easy and graphic. And we're both touched by fashion, but at the same time trying to wrestle with our artistic side too. And so this is like one of our styles that's somewhat popular with what we're doing as the styles go. This, and there's some other pieces such as Not Fragile. That's a style that's been a real hit. But what it does is it's our funny little tongue-in-cheek joke about commercialism. You know, you should wear this, which is what, you know, businesses are saying, you know, we want you to wear this. And so it's kind of like our artistic way of making that statement.
we also have there's like a collection that we have that sort of goes with the same idea. Like you should wear this, put this on. No, we have to print some more. Put this on. What was that one? I'm inside the shirt.
I'm inside the shirt. Yeah.
And there was one that maybe we should continue, but it's called 100% cotton pick cool.
Oh.
It's like it's 100% t-shirt, you know, it's cotton.
But it's also, it plays with the old, somewhat risque statement of cotton picking, because all of a sudden you're dealing with this racial issue. But it's so funny, because just recently I was watching an old episode of Leave It to Beaver, and she said, "You get your cotton picking self downstairs." I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know. So it's one of those slightly funny, slightly type of phrases. And I said, you know what? We need to lighten up and loosen up. And we made this style and we sold them at the Evanston show.
Oh, wow.
And it depends. It's interesting. I don't know. When you hear the phrase, what do you first think of? What is it?
You should wear this because it's really the symbolic of your clothing line? I don't know this how.
Oh, I mean, as far as the phrase cotton picking.
Oh, cotton picking. Oh, yeah, well, I know what that is. That's a whole different.
Yeah, yeah. What does that say? That there's a connotation behind it, you know? And it causes people either to express or to freeze up and fear. And as someone who's African American slash American Indian slash French slash, I find it personally interesting, the responses to language and what that says and what that does to me. And so I thought, well, let me make fun of this and see what, comedians do it. And artists have always been doing it in different ways. And so, and the shirt was one of our popular styles. Who has an iPhone? Okay, now let me just grab it for you. Yeah, we all got iPhone.
You have an iPhone?
This is the new one.
Samsung.
Thank you. This is the new art. This is the new sculpture. And it has a value. We perceive that the value is because this company has marketed it well. It's well built. It's clean lines. It is a commercial thing that is turned into an icon. And so when we create our work, we're always trying to create something and then get people to appreciate its value. We can instantly say this is value. But then when, let's say, we go into our communities and we see artists producing, like what Robert does, what we do, we struggle to price it so it moves. But people will buy this and it'll be, what is it, $199, I think at the lowest. Or some buy it outright, $600. It's a beautiful piece of modern art and it functions. It's the new art. And we've given it a value. So the thing about it is, like with our artware, people will say, well, the price of this, what do I decide is the reason for why this is priced the way that it is? Well, because someone's handmade it. It could be that we don't perceive that in the same context as the new things that our commercial society tells us. It's the new art. Comments? What do you feel about it?
I actually thought you were going to go in a different direction when you were talking about the iPhone because it's so recognizable. And so I thought you were going to go with creating something that, whether it says this or has a different image, that is recognizable as your art. And when people see it, they'll say, "Oh, I know that," and then it'll become more
Relate to it.
or that they recognize it as it came from you. You know what I mean?
Right, as far as building a brand.
Yeah.
Building a brand is something that definitely we've been trying to do for a while. And so definitely that's one of the struggles, for an artist to say, okay, you got to be commercial and you got to get your brand out there. Of course, the more money you have, the more it gets out there. And I guess what I was saying is that the iPhone is recognizable as, because technology is like its own, it's just become its own thing. And it's like, that's coveted. And I guess the direction I was going was that we put values on different things. Take, for instance, a person. When we were doing marketing for our clothing, it was interesting that persons who had a certain income level still felt that it was of value to them. Whereas others thought, I'm not into this, so why is it? But then they'll go and pay $200 for maybe a leather bag, a pair of shoes, or a new hat. It's the value that is perceived to them.
But I I think it has to do with the brand, you know, like people will pay for the brand. Like once you create a product that people recognize as yours, I think the value goes up. Like when they recognize it as the same, this is all the same, you know, because it comes from the same place. I think then the value of it goes up.
Robert and the three of us had a conversation about the value of things and how things are perceived. And it may be that because our work is very artistic, but for a certain crowd. Whereas maybe there's an image of a soul sister or this, you know, and it's
skull.
or skulls. Yeah.
That people can recognize, like, oh, I want that. It's like, you have to think about it. Just want it.
It's become iconic. The skull has become iconic, and you see it in everything. But now, does that hit, let's say, different communities than, say, the Pilsen community? It could. You know, Frida Kahlo, Che Guevara, yeah, Malcolm X, Scarface, you know, Al Pacino, recognizable images out there, you know, and we instantly put this value to that. Is that because it's moved by what the public says or what we personally feel about different things, you know? So in building a brand, that's like such a struggle because it might be that we're building a brand maybe based on these particular designs. May not be what people like specifically for a particular given area.
Do you think the more people see it, the more they like it? I mean, the more it gets out there, I think the more often you see something, the more your eye says, oh, I like that, just because you've seen it so many times. It's like the way that things promote new colors. Yeah. I mean, because I've been around these types of designs for the last couple of years. So now that I see it, I think of you guys, and I like it, you know, because I know it. So I feel like the more you see something, the more you
Becomes conscious.
yeah, and then you're attracted to it, you know. So
And you
want
pay
it.
what you feel is a reasonable for something.
I definitely, y'all know, I got the camera. I want to have an input. And I definitely think the more you see something makes a big difference. And that kind of, to me, goes into marketing of age, too. Like the younger group, if they see something a lot, they may be willing to pay that extra money. Now, let's talk about myself. I'm a tightwad. So if you say a price to me, guess what I'm thinking? Quality. I'm thinking how long it's going to last, what it's made out of, if I wash this, is it do this, whatever. Because when I hold things, I like to hold it forever. That's just, but I'm 45. Like I said, it's different. I think you're talking about a different marketing age when you're talking about money compared to seeing it. Like I said, my son, perfect example. He'll go out there. I like, what's the guy? What's this young man that's, is it TL? T.I.? T.I. Look, thank you. T.O. Is it T? Who got the design stuff? Who got the design? I think it's T.O. that got the design stuff that's out now. He'll pay any price for that. And it's good. And I got to say, I normally don't get into men's wear that much, but he does have good, nice looking things. But as his mom, he's 22, I still say, okay, yeah, is it worth that? Then I look at the style, is it unique, whatever. I go through the whole quality thing. But that could be the age.
Well,
yeah.
I have a different take on it because, like, before you said anything about this shirt, you should wear this. The first thing that jumped into my mind was anti-brand. And I think it's because years ago, especially with green teams, you know, when we kind of embarked on this journey about the anti-slavery movements and, you know, anti-child labor, that became the thing, the statement that are we paying attention to how we're being kind of brainwashed by marketing. We're going to go pay $200 more for a shirt printed with the name of an individual we don't personally know in a foreign country by persons working for less than half the value of the shirt, as opposed to the exact same shirt with nothing on it that's come from the exact same place, and we're not even willing to pay the $5 because we're so anxious to pay the $200 for the other shirt.
I remember that from the Cosby Show. Remember that episode?
What's that?
I have to have a Gordon Gartrell shirt. Well, are you a friend of this man?
And I think for me, like now I find myself, because I've been a part of so many different like grassroots movements, there's something about, a shirt or item of clothing that perhaps has a carbon print you can trace, and even thinking about having a shirt that, even though Cocomocha is in and of itself kind of a brand, but at the same time, persons aren't probably necessarily wearing it as a brand so much as they're wearing it as a personal representation of who they are and what kind of values they stand for, because they say, this is a quality product. Like, I was looking at this shirt, and I really wasn't expecting Loose to say it was $35, because I'm looking at, this is a nice grade of cotton, it's 100% cotton, I can see the value of the tag, it's not just like a cheap paper tag that's going to be scratching me, it's a very nice tag, it's hand designed, so to me that's something that has value. If you can go to any retail store across the city, I don't care what type of jeans they are, at least you're going to pay at least $20 for just a pair of jeans. That's something just plain, with no words or anything on it. So to say I can afford to spend $20 for a pair of pants, but this shirt is what I want you to see, because this tells you something about myself, it's worth what the price tag is. And for me, being a middle-aged person, I'm still young, but at the same time, I care a lot more about where my clothing comes from, what the actual face value is of what I'm buying. That's why now if designer handbag industry is $1 billion industry, the knockoff industry is at least a $500,000 industry.
Right.
Because persons are going, why am I paying all this extra money for the exact same product that, you're paying for the one that came from China and I'm paying for the one that was made down in Mississippi. What's the difference? So, yeah, I think that was what's spoken.
This is interesting. Yeah. I mean, our values, it's always interesting to hear this kind of dialogue, when it comes to not just clothing, but anything that we decide, really is a meaning and a value to us. And even when we choose, let's say, one style of object over another, one computer versus the other computer, there are a lot of things that go into that decision, and some of them are really personal. And so with our clothing, we set out to do something that has got this very abstract feel and something. But yes, you're right, and I feel what you're saying as far as showing the pieces often. And in that case, we got Zaya. She's wearing one of the pieces here. You can see how it looks, with the leggings. The milk moss is a style and design that we found is very attractive and really hot in certain parts of the city, more so than in others. And how we show this to individuals and what they perceive of it still varies, and yet, when we get that feedback about our designs, it's always good for us, and we know where to go to find our customers. This style was created based on objects that were found from resale shops and toy stores and salvage places, Home Depot, various scrap yards. We take the pieces, clean them, refinish them, and then use them in layering the new designs. And so each one is like its own work of art. And it says something about we feel the city. Now, what does it say to you?
Beautiful. It's just oh my God, beautiful.
I mean, we got all sorts of imagery, and we've got all sorts of different pieces that are put on here. Even notice here, we take the objects and we layer them in there. You'll see some of that same feel from areas within Pilsen or on the south side of Chicago or a cafe or the poster, in this art shop or whatever. All of that kind of goes into what it is that we're, what it is that, creates a myth, that whole idea. And I don't know, does she have the other?
Yeah, just go back.
Yeah, just come on up.
Yeah, just go back.
It's interesting when you mentioned about how certain, textures or design will sell better in different parts of the city than others, because when I saw that, I immediately thought about where I used to live over in Edgewater. And I was like, they would just eat that up.
Yeah.
A is because I found that on the south side, they're running a lot of like really neon bright popping colors, you know, on top of some of the different fashions that they have. And the leggings, of course, are humongous.
Yeah.
You just walk down the street, and every store has all their leggings outside to get customers to come. So that's like great that even to have it at any show that you do to have the models have that on, that's what people are going to see.
Right.
But I was just thinking, when you asked about what is that, what do we see in the shirt, and it automatically made me think of repurposing. And so I was like, in communities where they're really big on recycling, urban garden, community gardens, composting, things of that nature, something with that kind of texture and those particular colors actually really speak more, I think, to like that particular area of folks.
You know what, that's and I'm taking this like the piece she's wearing, which is a hit with young ladies, because something here with this heart and the star and the little doll that's lost in the center of the piece, it sort of gives you this sense of, I don't know, it's just something about a little girl's heart or a young woman's heart, and then there's this thing formed around it. And so the thought was that it forms like a rib cage of sorts. And then there's some other little images, they're on the shirt. She has a city-fied sort of, she's got a little grit to her too. You know, she's got a little edge as well. And those, so the found objects, when we were thinking about layering the objects onto the clothing, that's what we were trying to go for. You know, it's that whole pretty, you know, power girl kind of thing. And you can see even like in that green piece, there's some dreamy things too that we were trying to think of too, like or things in our pants. Things that are sentimental, like the, what is it?
Which one?
The green one.
Oh, the Pac-Man stuff? Or I'm sorry, which one? Nostalgic?
Yeah, right, the nostalgia,
Sure.
the Pac-Man, you know, and there is the woman's face and the lips. And it's like a collage of our dreams. So that's, and then there's the hand, the clenched fist, sort of like, you know, don't take me for granted. All those things we were thinking about at the time that we were making a piece like that. So if you look at each one, there's a story. And that's why, you know, as they're one of a kind, there's an interesting story and it speaks to you. I might say something about you and your personality.
Yeah, I mean, what stands out to me is like that each one is different. So, you know, I work with a lot of women. You know, they show up to work, and sometimes like people have pretty much the same thing because they shop at the same places, or someone has a cute shirt and they're like, "Where'd you get that?" And then the next week, you know, everybody has got them. And so I mean, it would be cool to to show up somewhere and for someone to be like, "Man, that is really nice." Like no one else would have the same thing on. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting because it was mentioned, like you had mentioned something about Oprah. Like, or some area in the city where they just would eat this up. Because, you know, Edgewater. Because we were at the Black Women's Expo, didn't sell one. Because their mindset was, we're coming here with a swap-a-rama mentality. And we're thinking, wow, you know, I think we should. But what's interesting is a lot of the people who come into the studio, or they would order by phone or something like that. And so some of those individuals that kind of sifted through, they would get the pieces. Also, another thing too is we appreciated when it came to inviting them to the studio. It's a much nicer, more intimate setting. And but the pieces we feel speaks for itself. You know, definitely speaks for itself. And we are trying to experiment with a variety of different things, and we always like to hear what people say about these, so that it takes us in a certain direction. Next, what's?
Well, there's one more moss, and then.
Well, why don't we just do the shirt and then just.
Okay, well then I have to have the other go.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and talk about
one of the things.
fractals.
Yeah, the latest pieces that we're doing is the X-Fractal, and this is kind of like what we think is
What did Mama say, Zoe?
captured a lot of interest because of what they state in a, it's like a bullet point shirt. And one of the things that really moved a lot of people at the event was a shirt like this. You see, where the X is placed and the woman's body and an exclamation point, and then there's the word sense and feel. Something that's not, and from my perspective, being done enough is being in touch with our emotions, our sensations, our feelings in a manner that respects others. The woman's body is a thing of beauty, but it's also been mistreated and been exploited. But now that's my take on it. What do you see? Because it was interesting the different responses that we got at the event. Some were, wow, they explained. And then for others, they were like, what is that about? And so it caused this really interesting conversation. And for some who got it, they thought
Well,
positively.
like it just spoke to them, something was striking for them.
Yeah.
About it.
What would you say when you see the word sense and feel, or like in the next one, intense love, and then you see the sort of tic-tac-toe, or the suggestion of that, there's an open heart. Makes you think, does this have a positive, or do I see this as a negative?
I definitely saw positive for all of them. I didn't think negative. Yeah.
And I know it made me feel positive. That's for sure. When I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty. I went into all the colors and the texture, but again, that could be the art side of me. But I do like, especially the first one with it looked like a woman body, but I like that it kind of can let you flow with whatever you think it could be. You know what I mean? That's why I think it attracted me the most. Like, whatever you see on, whatever you think you want to be when you look at it. And I like that. Sometimes I don't think art should always have to tell a particular, I think it should be something that what a person feel when they see it. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, the idea was to try to to give you some idea of the point that love is more of a commodity today. Love is it's a buzzword. For others, it's a lost thing. Saying intense love is something that we need more in society. It seems like society is having trouble showing respect and love. So those are some of the things that we were kind of thinking about in coming up with that. Your heart is open, sort of as if it was spilling out. It could be that the person's heart is open, or it could be that, this is a metaphor for what other people need to do is be open. So we call them the X fractals because they've got this fractalated, very, kind of graphic sense to it. And we're going to be trying to take these and put them out there, into a lot of different places. We're also going to be doing a series of shirts with Robert. We're doing some